Hello,
Got it.
everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Adrian Daniel, I'm your host, and this is Multifamily Chronicles. My guest today is Tammy Longo. Tammy is a regional sales executive with ALN Apartment Data for the Northeast region. Welcome to the show, Tammy.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's nice to see you again, Adrian.
Likewise. Tammy, let's start by introducing yourself to the audience a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your professional, personal background to begin.
Yeah, absolutely. I started in multifamily in 2003. I know I'm ancient. I get it. I've been around a long time, and I love it. I have spent the majority of my career in owner-operator space on properties, on sites, and moving through the ranks there. And now I am on the supplier side, and I am loving life bright and shiny over here. And that's basically, my career in a nutshell. I've been, everything and from leasing to regional marketing, compliance. I've done affordable, basically dabbled in everything except student housing. And I'm very thankful for that.
Tammy, tell us a little bit about ALN.
Yeah, absolutely.
And about your role over there at a company, like what's your role with the company? What do you do?
Perfect. So yeah, thank you. I am a regional sales executive, and I handle the majority of the DMV area here in the Northeast. And so I sell you data, right? So here at ALN, I like to consider us helpers, right? Where we are that supplier partner that can help you make educated decisions about your properties. We are gathering this information nationwide and not just in large cities, in the tertiary markets. If you want to build a property, or you want to look for properties out in a small town in Idaho just for potato farmers, we can help you. We got it, right? So we have that all going on, and we can also help our supplier partners as well. So what I do is I am always looking for people to help. I'm always at trade shows. I'm trying to get our name out there, making sure people know that we exist so that we can help you make those decisions, whether they are financial, amenity driven, new construction, whatever you're looking for, we've got it in our platform. And the education of what we do and how we do it is a really big part of my job.
So tell me, a few specific situations. I'd like to ask you to share a few specific situations in which your company could help a property management company with data. Because, and the reason why I'm asking this is that I've seen more often than anyone would like to admit, I've seen management companies making decisions based on feelings,
Yeah.
or based on one person's beliefs. Even though there's a lot of data right there to be harvested, we use software. The property management related software gives us a wealth of information. And then I'm seeing, for example, let's implement a new software program. And then what I'm seeing from the executive side is that we decided to roll with this program. And then when I ask the question, why is this beneficial to the company? The answer really is just literally just copying the sales pitch that was provided by the salesperson from the vendor side, and I think it's it could be very beneficial if it really is a great program for you. But then, what if it's not? Like you can't just base like multi-million-dollar decisions on a sales pitch. It has to be something that you had to back your decision with, and that's data, right? Data doesn't typically lie. It tells a pretty good story. So that's the reason why I want you to think about a couple of instances in which your company could help an executive make the right decision, an educated decision when it comes to their business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can do that on a couple fronts. So when you're talking about people on site, right? So our market survey and data analytics are top notch, and we're to the penny on what people are charging, what their specials are. All of that data is in there. So when you talk about running your market surveys on a weekly basis, how much time is your staff spending calling and calling and calling properties and trying to get that information? You mentioned having additional softwares. Well, our product isn't necessarily an additional software. It is something that you can just log into and the information is there. There's no integration, that you need necessary. It's just there for you. So you log in, you click that button, you run that comp market survey, and you have everything you need for your phone call with your regional manager, or if you're a regional, you have your whole portfolio. Right? You can look at your whole portfolio and know exactly what's going on with the click of a button. So that can save you a ton of time and money in and of itself. Now, if you're an owner operator and you're looking to grow your portfolio and you want to pick up some assets here or there, you can log into whatever city that you're looking to grow in, and then you can track these maybe underperforming assets. You can look at these smaller properties that maybe don't have a management company, and you can swoop in and say, I can do this better. Give my company a chance. Right? And then take it even further, you can look at the new construction reports and see what's going on in the area. And you can dive right into that and see a lead list of new projects going on that don't have management companies. And boom, there you go. You're in on the ground floor.
I love this. I hope that some executives are watching this.
You and me both.
that don't know about your company and the type of so they're offering, because there's a lot of value in it for sure.
Yeah, and that's just a very small portion. There's so much more that you can do and ways that you can slice and dice the data to really make those educated decisions that we were talking about.
Tammy, I know that you're very involved with the National Apartment Association. You're volunteering, volunteering a lot of time into for the cause of bettering the apartment industry environment space. Could you tell me and the audience a little bit about, could you share a little bit about the initiatives and that you're part of?
Yeah, absolutely. I love to talk about this. And the reason is because I am a product of this as well. We are an industry of people who you fell into property management, right? Everyone's got a story, and we love to talk about it like it's prison or something. How'd you get in? How'd you get in? When did you start this? So it's so interesting to me on that front. And I feel like with NAA, we have this great opportunity to provide that education and advocacy for people who fell into our industry, right? They don't know. I didn't know. I grew up in a tiny town in upstate New York where we didn't have these large apartment communities. We rented a half a house, a basement. I lived in the apartment above the bar that I worked at. We didn't have this. So it's fascinating to me that when I fell into it, I was brought into these ranks and given that education. And the other part of that is the advocacy. One thing that I would suggest to anyone to do, if you have the means and you can get to the Advocate Conference in DC, this is what opened my eyes to everything, to how the sausage is made, right? To how NAA runs, to how we can get involved. And that you can walk into any of these committee meetings. You can learn about your passions. You can find your passion there. I mean, I was in affordable housing. I sit on the Affordable Housing Committee, NAAEI, which is education. I am on the NAA Gives Committee. There's so much that you can learn about just by going to these free meetings and really diving into that. So the flip side to that is learning how to do the advocacy part. So the grassroots of it, if you can get involved on your local level, or you can get involved on the NAA level and, storm the General Assembly in January, like we do here in Virginia, you really learn about the issues that drive our industry. And that's so important. So being able to provide the education for the people that fell into our industry by teaching the NAAEI credentials. And actually next week, I'm going to AFT training for the week to learn how to do that better. So I'm very excited about that. And also the advocacy to learn about why we need the education. So it kind of is a two-parter for me. But if you can get to the Advocate Conference, which is a free conference in DC in March, and sit in on some of these meetings and really try to find your why, right? Find your why, find your passion. That's going to just make you that much more interested in growing in our industry. Because when you have something to grow towards, you're going to work harder, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I want to promote positive change within our industry too. I guess that's the other part of it, is learning the advocacy, being a part of the education to promote that positive change and make sure that we're going in the right direction. We're notoriously slow adapters in multifamily, and that's not necessarily a terrible thing, but we've got to understand how to adapt a little bit faster. And we do that through learning about the issues.
Well, the thing is, world in general evolves, moves very fast at a very fast pace. Technology being a catalyst for that. And then the reality is, if we're not keeping up with it, we're gonna be left behind.
Yeah.
And then,
well, absolutely. And that, prime example of that in my brain is the revenue management systems, where we're operating now. A lot of places are operating on daily pricing, right? That's something that retail has picked up on decades ago. And we're really just coming around to it, where people are realizing that there's a lot of money on the table there just by having these, meetings on a weekly basis to adjust pricing that, adjusts daily and holds people to that, 72 hours to make a decision. I mean, you go to a store, right? Something's on sale, the next day it's not. What are you going to do? Right? They're doing that. They've been doing that. We haven't. And now we are. So there are things that are evolving, and we're getting there. We could be a little more forward on it, but we're getting there.
I like this because it's about the dynamic, the moving approach versus the static, right?
Yeah.
If it takes you 2 or 3 days to decide on pricing, you're too late. By the time you make a decision, probably that decision is obsolete in a way that is not the right decision for the current market conditions.
Absolutely. And that's another service that, at ALN, we also provide. You can, again, log in at any time, click that button, see everyone's pricing, and adjust yours accordingly. Done.
Super.
Yeah.
Tammy, you've been in the industry for almost 2 decades.
Ooh, yeah. Hit me where it hurts, Adrian. Hit me where it hurts, right?
I started in 2003, just like you did.
Yay!
Yeah. So we started about the same time.
It was a good year. It was a good year, Adrian.
It was a fantastic looking back. So I'd like to ask you about looking back in retrospective, right? About a few great things that our industry does, and also I like you to look with a critical eye, not necessarily in a in a bad way, but to say what are the things that the industry should be not doing or doing differently, doing better than we do.
So I have a standard answer to this, and it is something that I'm finally starting to see a little bit of change on. But it's the path, right? So we've got this God-given path in property management, where you come in as a leasing person, and then you go to an assistant manager, and then you go to a manager, and then you go to a regional, and then maybe you become a district manager, right? That's what we do to people. We put them on this path, and we go, no, your next step is this, your next step is that. We're not paying attention to their strengths enough. And it's just been something that recently we're starting to create jobs and really think about what people's strengths are. And I think we can still do better, but I think again, we're getting there. But taking someone who is this wonderful, bubbly, energetic leasing person who just loves to be around people and loves to talk about the property and loves the social media and being in front of the camera. And then you know what we do? We put that light out, we put him behind the desk, and we say, collect rent. That's your job now. You took that next step. Yay for you. You get to sit here and collect rent and make sure that you do, late notices. What's that doing to someone who has the fire and the passion to be the kind, energetic, bubbly, forward-facing person, right? We're dimming their light, right? We're just putting them on that path, and we're putting them in that next chair, and it's just not for them. But that's what we're taught. That's what we've always been taught. And then from there you would go to maybe being the manager. Maybe you get a little bit of that back dealing with people. Maybe you don't. Then you go to a regional. But that's just not the path for everyone. And everyone wants to make more money, sure. But having these open conversations with people and saying, you are such a fantastic leasing agent. I would hate to take that away from you. I don't think this next role is right for you. And it's not because of anything you're doing wrong, but your strengths lead me to believe that you should be on this marketing path or whatever that looks like within your company. And you know what? If it's not within your company, let them know that. Say to people, you know what? I see this bright light in you and I see that you can do something, and I don't have that position for you. I just don't have it. I don't want to lose you, but I don't want you to leave our industry. I don't want you to burn out. I don't want that light to go out in you. Right. So having those conversations with people is something that we have to do better at, rather than just put people on a ladder. And again, it's not a, a knock. Those conversations are hard. We like to call them the, ugly baby conversations, right? Where you just don't say that. You don't say that to people, but we need to. And it can be a positive conversation. And if you don't get to retain that person, then that's okay. Watch them grow, plant that seed, see where they go, see what they do, and own that. Say, you know what? I did that. I had that conversation and they went and found their passion. And I cannot think of a better reward to myself than to see someone just grow and flourish in a industry that I love so much. That would be my answer to that.
It takes, it honestly takes the bigger person to be the person to say that and look out for people in general, for their people, or for people in general.
It's hard because you have to have someone in that seat, right? And we're so scared to not have a person in the chair. We're just so scared to not have a butt in the chair that we just put people there because we need them. Well, there are services that can get you a temporary person. There are people in your company that are willing to help. Just don't put out people's light.
I'm going to go a step further, and I'm just going to build a scenario and say, okay, this person has the talents. You don't have the job for them to harvest those talents at its fullest. And then you give them advice, right? And they move on, they leave your company, and they excel, and they become, great. And maybe a year or 2 years or 5 years later, they come back to your company into an executive role. How great would that be?
Yeah.
But we're looking at how things are done typically, right? You try to hold them down because, again, like, you're scared, who am I going to replace them with? They're great in what they do.
Right.
You know that you can't hold down greatness. You can't put it in a box and just like own it. You don't own their greatness. They own it.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Adrian.
And it's not that, but it's not only that, but people that typically know their worth, they're not going to be around for too long, regardless of you wanting them to be or not, or trying to keep them, trying to hold on to them. It's not going to happen. Like, you could just tell. I've seen so many people throughout my career, and I said, this person is going to be, is going to make it to the very top. And they, sure enough, they did. And what it is, sometimes they made it to the top within an organization, and sometimes they had to go and just go somewhere else because this was not, like, there was something in a path. There was not, the next step was not there for them. So you can't be selfish about it. I'll say you need to be selfish about it, selfish in a way that, hey, I'm gonna see my own interest. Maybe if I could help this person right now, they're gonna do a referral for me for selfish reasons. If nothing else, you should be helping people. But I'm hoping that people will not help other people for selfish reasons.
Right.
That's my hope. But I'm saying, even for a selfish reason, you should still do the right thing by people, because you can't put greatness in a box and throw away the key. That's not going to happen. You could tell. And I'm very passionate about the path too, because most, of course, I came up on a maintenance side, and then on maintenance, we have a clear path, right? You start as a groundskeeper, become a punch tech, a tech, a service manager, maybe a regional maintenance director. But these are not the only possibilities that are out there. I've seen people that became CEO of the company, president of the company, and they started as a groundskeeper, picking up trash right there.
Right.
They overcame the fact that, we don't actually have a formal, because, this goes back to education, which I'm, again, super passionate about education for the maintenance side. We don't have a program. We don't have a designation for service managers in our industry. We have certified apartment managers, and the answer that I've gotten often was that, well, we have this KMT leadership. Yes, but it says certified apartment technician. Maintenance technician, right? Why don't you make a program specific to a manager that empowers that person, that tells this is a manager, this is not a leadership technician. What does that even mean?
I don't know the answer to that one. I don't, but I'm with you. I am absolutely with you because, and then you know, that's a trickle down effect too, to where now we're relying on the management companies and your local associations to put together certified pool operator, to put together HVAC classes. And, you know, if we're teaching those skills at a higher level, at a, you know, a higher designation, a higher credential, whatever you want to call it, I think that there's great opportunity there for keeping talent within our industry as well.
It's also educating people, maintenance, I'm talking especially, right, in particular, educating them to understand the purpose of the business, the purpose, like if you're a maintenance person, part of a site team, how are you part of achieving the goals for that property?
Yeah.
From this level, from up. Do you even understand what the goals are? Like, what are the owners trying to do? Who told you? Have you ever been brought in on a conversation? Have you been explained that? If you can't take the time, if you don't take the time to explain to people what the goals are, high level goals, don't think that they won't understand.
Right.
Create that language for them to understand. It's your job as a manager to create a language for them to understand, because guess what? Once they understand, you have a chance to get their buy-in.
Yes.
If you don't even bother to start a conversation to try to explain or think that that's important, how could you expect that they just all of a sudden get a buy-in?
Yeah. Well, and you know, taking that aspect and just thinking about a turn tech or someone who they go in and they're doing this turn, they don't understand what that one extra day costs. They have no idea that pushing back that move-in date, you know, creates problems that is more than money. You're creating stress on people. And so once you really do, like you're saying, educate them and say, hey, listen, this extra day, this extra hour, this extra half hour is going to cost us this much money. You know what you're going to create? You're going to create someone who understands the goal, like you said, and is going to work harder to make it done, because they're going to be passionate about not costing their property money and not setting their goals backwards.
Absolutely. So I'm an advocate for that.
You know what else you touched on that I love too, and I've tried this a bunch of times, and I've had not resistance, but I have had some wonderful maintenance men and women along the way that I thought had the greatest personalities, and I wanted them in the office. I wanted to teach them how to lease. I wanted to teach them how to be assistant managers, and I don't want people to ever be afraid of that, because sometimes it can work out wonderfully, and sometimes you get the people who go, I'm not that guy, or I'm not that girl. I really do belong on this side. And I can appreciate that, right? I don't want to put someone in the wrong box like we were talking about, but don't be afraid to have those conversations and to approach people and say, you have a great personality. And I love the feedback that I get from our residents when you're in their apartment, right? So why don't we sit down and have a conversation about anything else that you could do within our company besides being a tech or whatever that looks like, you know, within your company. Don't be afraid of those conversations, because there's some great people out there who can multitask, you know?
Yeah, I will love for companies to embrace that. And it's part of the cross training too, if you wish. Yeah, maybe they're not gonna turn into a leaser or a property manager, but then at least they would better understand what the other side of the business it's up against.
Right.
And this goes the other way around too, right? To where management and leasing get exposed to maintenance work in real life.
Oh, they should.
Not just like, you know, stepping out of the office and actually spending a couple of hours here and there with the techs, actually running with them to see what they're running into, you know, the technical challenges, all the challenges that they have, the way they approach the resident. Let's say that a manager takes a couple of hours and runs with the tech while they're running work orders. Well, they could actually use this not only to learn about maintenance, because they will learn about maintenance, about the technical side of things, right? But they could also use this as an opportunity to maybe coach that particular employee of how to interact with the resident. We all know that we have many wonderful maintenance professionals. They're great with their hands, But then when it comes to relating, being able to be relatable to people, they're not the type. They just want to be the type of person that, hey,
yeah,
I'm just here to do my job. Let me fix your stuff. Let me get out of here.
yep.
If I can go to the next thing, they're not really into the conversation or into being too warm and fuzzy. So how about a manager spending some time with with their techs and see opportunities, area of opportunities, and have a follow-up conversation and say, let me take you to lunch, and hey, you did a wonderful job, but here are a few pointers, right? Here are a few things that you could add to your existing skill set overall that will make you such a much better professional when it comes to maintenance. And from a service standpoint, from a customer service standpoint, there's so much value into like spending the time. Any time of time that you spend with your people comes back to you tenfold.
Absolutely.
First of all, it makes them better. So first of all, it makes them better. Second of all, you benefit from it. You as an individual, as a manager, and your company benefits from it. So don't take this for granted. People are looking at it this way too. It's too much like a one-way street. Why should I spend my time with my techs? Because I don't have 2 hours to spend with my tech. But
yes, you do.
Make time.
Yep.
I also learned that if someone doesn't want to do something, they'll find an excuse to say, I didn't have time. The reality is we don't own time. We have to make time for everything we do in life, for our personal hobbies, for our job, for getting things done. We make time. We don't have time. We don't own time. So to say you didn't have time, it's obviously a sign that is not on your top priority list. And that's, I guess that's okay, but it's really not okay. Every time you invest in your people, the return on the investment, it's invaluable.
Absolutely. And I'll take it even a step further from the manager's perspective. You're spending that time with your maintenance team and learning about the things that they're running into, right? That's going to make it that much easier for you to explain what's going on when you get those angry phone calls, or when you're doing a move-in with someone and there's a problem in the apartment. Maybe there's a chip in the countertop and it's visible, it's not the best fix, but understanding the why behind that too, and being able to explain it to your new move-in or the angry resident on the phone is going to make that situation that much easier to diffuse, so that you're not getting the bad reviews and you're not getting that bad feedback. And so it goes, like you said, it goes tenfold, and you can just keep going down that path with why you should be doing these things with your maintenance teams and your teams as a whole. And again, if it comes back to the financial issues, does your maintenance team understand that, this countertop with that little patch doesn't look great, but it's what we have to do right now, and I will take the lead on explaining that to our new resident.
Absolutely. So Tammy, you spend most of your career on the management side in multifamily, and recently you switched towards the vendor partner side.
Yes.
So, having both perspectives right now, what would you say are a few things that the management side of business could do better or different to improve their relationship with the vendor partners? And the reason for me asking this question is, in my personal opinion, I've seen over the years that vendor partners are the one of the two most underserved categories of people in our industry, along with maintenance personnel. So maintenance and vendors are the most underserved two most underserved categories in the industry. So with that being said, what would you think that management side could do differently to improve this relationship? Because I think it's a two-way street, really. For management and vendor side to benefit, everybody, both sides have to benefit. Otherwise, there's really not a benefit.
Right, absolutely. And my answer to this question is pretty simple, and it's going to be honesty, right? So kind, straight honesty. If you don't feel a need for my product right now, tell me. So you know what? It's not something that's in our wheelhouse right now. Maybe in the future we can talk about it. But you know what? The second step to that answer is, but tell me what you do. Tell me what you do. Learn about my product. Learn about what we do at ALN. Learn about, anybody. Like you can call out a million vendors right now. Let's just say Funnel, or, learn about what it is they do, because you're out there, right? You're out there networking. You're out there talking to other owners, to other managers, to other property managers. And what if you hear the need from them? What if you hear a need that they have that I could help with? We've talked before about that cyclical thing on the owner manager side, but it goes for us too. Learn about what we do, be honest with us, but learn about what we do and take that information out into your networking and help us grow our network. And it's just kindness. It's kind honesty. And, again, I learned that on the owner manager side by being educated about my competitors, right? My comps, my people around me. And this goes back to another conversation that we were having earlier, where I would always be educated enough to help someone that I couldn't help. I don't have the perfect apartment for you. I don't. I have things I can't change on my property that you need, but guess what? There's someone down the street who can help you, who does have that, long hallway that you're looking for that I just don't have. So, you put that out there, you give them everything, they go, and then you know what you get? You get a call from that manager, or you get a call from that vendor that says, thank you so much. Maybe we can meet up for coffee someday, and you talked about the people coming back, down the line. Maybe that person who needed the long hallway isn't going to come back, but they're going to say, you know what, this woman over here at this property, or this person over here at this company was so kind to me that I'm going to tell you about their product, and I'm going to tell you about their property. So it's the same kind of thing. And to me, it just boils down to kind honesty. And that's my pitch on that.
I agree with you.
We do it for each other, right? We do it as vendors for each other. We do it as supplier partners for each other. You can help us do it for you too. And if you're an owner, manager, operator, and you're looking for something, a property or a place or a product, we're going to spew it all to you. So do that for us as well.
I 100% agree with you. There's so much more value into the type of approach of, just being kind and helpful versus being transactional. Like, if I'm not going to get something out of this conversation, then I might as well just not have the conversation.
Right.
I think that it's a very finite game when you're talking about transactional versus it's the infinite game when you just help people without expecting anything in return in general. Right. And in this situation in particular, our vendor partners definitely could use more support from management side, and this is a great example.
Yeah, I mean, we're in my humble opinion, we're going to be there for you. We're still going to support you in events, and all that's going to continue, but it can be stronger and better with communication and education.
Absolutely. Tammy, what advice would you have for a young person being ready to enter the workforce today?
Ooh, Nelly. My biggest thing, and it's a toughie. It's a toughie, especially if you're young, but to be as self-aware as humanly possible. Because again, you're going to have to be your own advocate to say, I don't need to take that next step that you're pointing me at. I know what my strengths and weaknesses are. I am self-aware enough to know that I can't go from this position to that position. And so being self-aware in using that knowledge to position you to get the career that you want out of property management is going to be the biggest thing that you can do for yourself.
Tammy, what type of new perspective do you think that you bring to the vendor or partner side coming from the management side?
Yeah, so you mentioned it before, and it's a word that not a lot of people use, but you used it and I use it all the time, and that's being relatable. I can be relatable on just about any topic in the world, whether I like it or I don't like it. I'm a person first and foremost. I have places I like, things I like, stuff I like to talk about, things I love. And I want to talk about those things. I want to create relationships, right? I don't necessarily want to be that transactional person. And I've learned that on the owner operator side through, going through the ranks and everything like that. I also learned it in retail. It's a skill, right? So being relatable, being able to walk up to a table when you're a waitress and notice one little thing about someone and say, hey, I really like that clip in your hair. And boom, you've got someone right there, right? We're not talking about the specials. I'm not talking to you about my product, but we're talking and we're creating a relationship. And that is the one thing that I really want to be in pursuit of always, is creating a relationship based network over a sales network.
Yeah, relationship based is just something that could last forever and bring you continue business, if you wish, versus just that.
Well, we talk about how transient property management is. We've been speaking of that, and that is just something that I want to create an impression with someone about me and my kindness and my relatability, to the point where sometimes maybe they even go, you know what, I know she said this about her company, but I'm comfortable enough to give her a call or send her an email and learn more, rather than, oh, she was pitching me, in the elevator, and oh, I can't hear about ALN anymore. And that's not my goal.
Yep, that's the way to go. Tammy, can you think of a situation when a apparent failure at the time set you up for future success, and share that with the audience?
Yeah, I said this line before, but I am a product of what I preach. And my biggest failure was not being self-aware. I went on this path. I went to the regional role, and I was never meant for that. It's not in my personality. It's not my wheelhouse. And I shouldn't have been there. I did the jobs, I did them well, but I lost a little bit of my passion. I lost a little bit of myself, because I was doing something that I just in my heart knew wasn't for me. And it took a long time to become self-aware and say, hey, listen, I really don't like this and I got to figure it out. But once I did that, I have now found myself in a place where I long time ago said, I am a helper at my core. I always have been. And look at where I am now. Look at what I get to do. I get to help. I get to help everyone who wants anything to do with multifamily. I can help you. And it took me the failures and the internal struggles of being in roles that I had to realize I'm here collecting this paycheck, and I dislike what I'm doing. Like, that's not fair to me. That's not fair to you. And, while it might not necessarily be dubbed a failure, I was failing myself and I was failing my company, because somebody else could have been in that role who could have done it better, because they had a passion for it. And where I was just but like really internally struggling. And when you have that internal struggle, you're not your best self. So again, being put on that path actually did allow me to become the person that I am in the place that I am today. However, I would have really enjoyed someone saying to me 15 years ago, maybe this is it for you.
Well, sometimes it takes us years or decades to learn.
Yeah.
It could be learning ourselves.
Absolutely. And then it's a hard thing to do, to be honest with yourself over anything, and sometimes something just comes along and maybe it breaks your spirit enough to just go, I got to make a change. And that's what happened to me. And I have found myself over the last year and a half now in the best position that I've ever been in multifamily in my life. And that's not necessarily just my job, but my personal space, my internal happiness, my core, everything. And if I'm not saying everything's perfect all the time. No, it never is, but it's just about being, again, that self-awareness to say, I'm pretty close to the exact right spot to where I need to be. And it trickles down to everything.
It takes a lot to make that call. And it's because this is not our default state as human beings. So basically you have to fight against your own nature. Against
Absolutely.
your own human nature. So I'm really excited and glad to hear that, you found your passion. And it seems like you're in the best spot that you have ever been. And I kind of follow the same, a very similar path with searching and searching. I'm in a great spot now myself, so I'm very grateful for that. But again, it's been a journey, and the journey continues. Really, the journey continues because we're living in a dynamic world. It's not static. It's not what
that's for sure.
What I think where most pain is coming from for people is that they're looking at things in a static way, like the world today. And then they expect, like, if they're in a great situation right now, they expected that to last forever. And they're not realizing that things are changing. You can't just expect that, like your situation to stay the same when everything around you is changing. You're changing yourself too, whether you're realizing or not. So you can't really realistically expect that you keep the same great situation that you're in today. You have to adapt and overcome all the time and find
when you do that, you stay static, like you're saying, you also lose your relatability. You lose it.
Exactly. That's a great way. That's a very great observation, Tammy.
Yeah.
Next question, books. What do you like to read? Fiction, not fiction, business books? What would you recommend to the audience?
So I'm a little bit of a conundrum when it comes to that. I love to read a lot of customer service books. I'm currently reading the Be Our Guest Disney customer service book. I'm a Disney-aholic. My other favorites that I read over and over again are the Secret Garden and Alice in Wonderland Through the Looking Glass. Also Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. I'm very down those paths. I love the Harry Potter movies. I have not subscribed to reading the books yet, even though I know them all, just because they're a little daunting for me. They're so big. And I have my favorites, but customer service books, and then, my Disney fallbacks. I'm also a huge fan of reading plays, which I know is a little bit left field, but I love to read a play. I really can get into character. I love Broadway. So that is a big thing for me. One of my favorites was actually the only Harry Potter book that I've read is The Cursed Child, which is a play. So those are my favorites. But the Disney Be Our Guest book, I keep doing next, right there next to me, is awesome. It's great. And I do need to get the Ritz-Carlton book too. I need to read that one as well.
Tammy, in the past 3 years, what new belief or behavior or habit has improved your life the most? Or changing?
Yeah. So my answer to this is going to be something that I actually learned more than 3 years ago, but have only recently implemented. And that is the realization that it's okay to think. And I learned this back at a Zillow conference a long time ago from Juliette Funt. She's fantastic. She's a speaker. And she had this line, and it's when was the last time you caught someone thinking where you work? Someone just staring at the wall, someone writing something down that wasn't a proposal, that wasn't a budget, writing down a thought. And we're so busy. We're running, doing. And she has this great bit that she does portraying someone in an office who forgot they had to use the restroom. Like if we're forgetting that we have to use the restroom, if we're so busy that we're not taking the time to use the restroom, where's the next great idea going to come from? Where is the next great step in multifamily going to come from? If we're not taking 5 minutes to doodle, 5 minutes to think about what we could do better, or what suggestion can I make to make my company better, to make my industry better, or, something that I heard, we're reading through tons and tons of articles and, great content out there that we have. We're reading it, but are we thinking about it? And really taking that 5 to 10 minutes every once in a while to write down a thought. And I've recently started putting a notebook next to my bed, and I'm real close to putting one around other places of the house too, because you just have these random thoughts and we're running to do the next thing, and we forget the thought. And then it's the most frustrating thing, because you had this great idea and it's gone, and you're not getting it back because it's gone, right? So that would be my biggest thing that I have actually implemented in the last 3 years is thinking, finding my brain again, getting a little bit out of the chaos and, remembering that it's okay to just sit for a second and write that thought down. And then maybe a little bit later, I expand on that thought, and then I expand on that thought. And now I've got a complete idea, right? And I can take that to someone. And I can maybe create that positive change that I want to see in our industry. So, think.
That's a great message, think. And it's very simple, but we seem to forget that.
Absolutely. It's all the time, I mean, and it doesn't, I'm not, saying go home and just sit and try to get that thought. But when you have that thought, write it down, do something with it, and take a minute to think about it. Take a minute to think about what you're reading instead of just reading it to read it.
Tell me, when you feel stressed out, when you feel overwhelmed, how do you get back on track? What type of technique or what do you do to get back on track?
Gangster rap. No, I'm just kidding. It is music though. It's music. I love music. So that's part one is music. I love it. I will blast something. I will have a 10-second dance party. Again, Broadway gives me all the feels. So I listen to a ton of Broadway, and I will, I take my frustrations and things going on in my life, and I try to turn them into positive things. So when you get so angry that you're going to cry, when you get so angry that you need to smash your face into a pillow, what I do, and something that has worked really well for me outside of music, is to look up like happy homecomings. And when I have big feelings and I feel like I'm going to cry or I need to release that, I will look up military homecomings, and I will look up surprise pregnancy announcements and engagements and things that make me happy. And then I cry happy tears and I feel good and I feel grateful and I'm not angry anymore because I got myself out of that space. So I love to do that no matter what. If I'm down in the dumps, if I'm just having a moment, sometimes even if I've had, too much coffee and I need to calm down, I'll just be like, ooh, or things like Undercover Boss, where they're always giving everyone everything in the end, just those little clips of people helping people and things that make me happy. And sometimes things that make me just cry those happy tears. And then I kind of move on from the anger that was there. So blasting out some Broadway music and singing to myself in my office or in my car or in my kids' faces, which they love, or, finding those little clips that just make me feel grateful and make me feel very empathetic and happy towards what's going on in that situation, takes me out of my situation.
That's great. I use music myself many times to get out of a stressful situation, to get my mind off that situation. Tell me, in closing of our conversation, I would like to ask you, is there anything that you wish we would have discussed, we would have touched on during this conversation? You didn't have the chance. Is there anything that you wanna tell the audience in closing, something that you're really passionate about and we don't have the opportunity to cover?
No, I don't think so. The biggest things that I really want people to understand about multifamily is that there is so many options for you. Don't give up on us. We've got mentors. Go find them. Go find someone. Call me. Find me on social media. I will help you. I will help you to keep you in our industry and find the right spot for you. And there's so many other people out there that are willing to do the same thing. So, if I could impress anything on anyone, it's find your passion, go to the meetings, figure out, what your purpose is or what it could be in multifamily. Find that mentor or that person and just stick with us, man, because it's a solid industry with solid people. And, I think that if you just stick with us and give us the opportunity and really use your resources and your network, you're going to make something of yourself.
Couldn't think of a better way to close this conversation. I do want to give you the opportunity also, Tammy, to share your contact information. How can our audience reach out to you if they want to get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my email is very simple and it's easy and it's wonderful. It's Tammy, at alndata.com. And also you can find me on all the social media except TikTok. I haven't gotten a TikTok yet. I'm afraid of what I will do with a TikTok account, and what rabbit holes I will go down on there. But LinkedIn, and if I could, one more thing that I don't think I really touched on much, but a little bit, read LinkedIn. Join the groups, join the LinkedIn groups, join the Facebook groups, read about what's going on in our industry. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. My name is just my name. Look me up anywhere. Check it out. I will help you.
Tammy, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Adrian.
I truly enjoy our conversation. I hope that we could do a part 2 later down the road.
I would love that. Yeah, I would absolutely love that. It would be great. But I look forward to seeing you at other conferences and things. We're not that far apart, so we'll likely be meeting up at some local association events, and maybe we'll run into each other's speaking event again too. That was really great. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise. I'm really looking forward to that. Everybody, thank you very much for watching. This is Multifamily Chronicles. I'm your host, Adrian Danila, and I hope to see you back here soon. Have a great day.
Yes.